Hey, my amazing squaddies, no matter what kind of day you're having, I want you to know you are valued, you are appreciated, and you are exactly where you need to be. Welcome back to Daily Diaries Friday. This community is built on love, support, and positivity, and I'm so grateful that you're a part of it. Let's keep growing together, keep shining, and keep lifting each other up. And remember to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts and insights. Thank you for being the heart of Daily Diaries Friday. Today I have an interesting video, so stay tuned, squaddies, and let's dive in. In one of my recent videos, I talked about William and Kate's latest PR move, where they took part in a royal bake-off when they made Welsh cakes on Wednesday. The pair were in Pontypridd in Rhondda Cynon TF to see how the community was coping following recent floods. It's almost laughable that they finally dragged themselves over for this visit, even if it took them an absurdly long time. For a pair of royals who are supposed to be deeply invested in Wales, what with their fancy titles and all, you'd think they'd have prioritised showing up sooner, especially after such a devastating event. But no, instead they took their sweet time, likely waiting for the worst of the immediate chaos to die down so they wouldn't have to get their hands too dirty. Of course, we've heard the usual excuses that immediate visits could interfere with emergency efforts, that logistical concerns had to be considered, blah, blah, blah. But come on, 2.5 months? That's not just a delay. It's a blatant lack of urgency, a sign that this was always going to be a low-priority box to tick rather than something they genuinely cared about. This wasn't a visit born out of deep concern. It was an obligation they finally got around to fulfilling, probably after their PR team realized that their absence was starting to look really, really bad. And speaking of PR, how convenient that they pre-announced the visit. That's not always their strategy, which makes it obvious that they were worried about optics. Maybe they were concerned that no one would bother showing up. Maybe they were trying to drum up excitement in an effort to manufacture some enthusiasm. Either way, it's not a good look. Royals are supposed to command interest naturally, right? If they have to beg people to care, it just highlights how little impact they actually have. It's even funnier when you factor in the irony of their train delay. A royal visit delayed by the very issue they were supposedly there to acknowledge, severe weather and flooding. Couldn't have scripted it better. It's just another sign of how much of a crisis climate-related disasters have become in the UK. And yet even that irony won't be enough to spur them into genuine action. But let's get to the real question. Did they actually meet with flood victims, first responders, or anyone who was genuinely affected by the disaster? Or was this just another shallow PR-driven walkabout where they nodded solemnly, feigned concern, and made meaningless small talk before hopping back onto their taxpayer-funded transport? Because, let's be honest, that's what most of their visits amount to. They breeze in, look mildly interested for a few minutes, pose for carefully curated photo ops, and then leave without actually accomplishing anything of substance. If this visit was just another empty gesture meant to make them look good without any real commitment to helping the people affected, then it was nothing more than a waste of time. Now, let's talk about Kate, because of course there's always a bizarre fixation on what she's wearing, and this visit was no exception. She started out in her red McQueen coat, then ditched it to reveal a Gucci tartan skirt, because apparently mid-visit outfit changes are a thing now. But the most interesting part? The addition of a Ralph Lauren blazer, which she's been hoarding in her closet for nearly 2 decades. This isn't the first time she's recycled it. It was a go-to piece back in her Waity Katie days when she spent years in limbo waiting for William to finally commit. That alone is kind of embarrassing. Why wear something so deeply tied to that part of her past? But what's even more ridiculous is the ongoing debate over whether we should even be talking about her clothes at all. It's all thanks to that tone-deaf statement from her office where they essentially declared that they didn't want to discuss Kate's fashion anymore, which of course backfired completely. Instead of stopping the conversation, it just made everyone talk about it more. Because, let's be real, Kate's entire public persona has always been heavily based on her image. She's the perfectly put-together royal wife, the one who never steps out of line, never looks messy, and always plays it safe. Pretending her fashion choices don't matter when they've been one of the few things she's actually known for is laughable, and it's not like the media is following their new rule either. People magazine still made sure to point out that Kate loves flag dressing. So much for that policy change. And while we're on the subject of her fashion, let's talk about the turtlenecks. What is going on with Kate and her sudden obsession with them? She's never worn them this often before, but lately they're everywhere. Is it just a random new style choice? Or is there something else going on? Because honestly, it's starting to feel like she's using them to hide something. Is she trying to cover up weight loss? A health issue? Some sort of subtle rebranding? No one seems to have answers, but the shift is obvious. And then, of course, there's the ring drama. The absence of Big Blue was noted yet again. Instead, she was wearing that new eternity band that no one has managed to explain. There's been speculation for over a year now about what's really going on with her wedding rings, why she sometimes wears them, sometimes doesn't, and why this new band keeps showing up. But, as usual, we get no real answers, just more mystery. But let's move on to the most cringe-worthy part of the entire visit, the baking stunt. This was truly an all-time low in their never-ending attempts to look relatable. Kate and William were trotted out for a cookie baking event that was so blatantly staged it was painful to watch. It was obviously meant to be a cute, wholesome moment, but instead it came off as deeply awkward. And the timing? Oh, that wasn't a coincidence. This whole thing was clearly a petty little jab at Meghan Markle, whose Netflix cooking series is set to premiere next week. The parallels were too obvious to ignore. Meghan has always been known for her love of cooking, for her warmth and passion in the kitchen, for how she genuinely connects with people through food. Kate, on the other hand, looked like she had never touched a rolling pin in her life. Her discomfort was palpable. She handled the dough like it was radioactive. And the entire thing just reeked of forced enthusiasm, because here's the thing, I actually believe that Kate does cook and bake in her private life, but enjoying it behind closed doors and being able to pull off a convincing homely baker act in public are two very different things. Meghan makes it look natural. Kate, in contrast, looked like she was desperately trying to remember the last time she used a baking sheet, and then there was the hygiene issue. It's one thing to put on a clumsy, poorly thought-out baking performance. It's another to do it while running your hands through your hair and then touching the cookies. Yes, really. At one point, Kate was seen absent-mindedly running her fingers through her hair right before handling food, and then they served those cookies to kids. Disgusting. It's basic hygiene. If you're handling food in any setting, you tie your hair back or at least wear a hairnet. But nope, that detail was apparently too much to ask. The lack of care was baffling. It was the kind of oversight that only happens when you're so focused on looking perfect that you forget about actual common sense. And the worst part, no one around them bothered to correct it. The whole thing just made it glaringly obvious that this was nothing more than another empty PR exercise. One where the image mattered more than anything else, including actual food safety. In the end, this visit was exactly what we've come to expect from William and Kate. Performative, shallow, and completely lacking in authenticity. It was a last-minute attempt to save face after months of inaction, and rather than coming off as caring and engaged, they just looked out of touch. 2.5 months late, awkward and entirely self-serving. Yep, that about sums it up. And that's a wrap, squaddies. Thanks for watching and being part of this amazing journey. You guys are the best and I love you all. Your support means the world to me. If you had a good time, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're the first to catch our next adventure. Drop your thoughts, questions, or even just a quick hello in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Share this with your friends, your family, or anyone who could use a little inspiration. Until next time, stay awesome, stay motivated, stay safe, and keep shining. Catch you later, squaddies.